got that? All right, so y'all have learned this in 3rd grade. Y'all did something similar. And in a story, you've learned that there's a couple things that a story has, right? A story has a beginning, a middle, and a what? An end. Yeah, it also has, what you learned in 3rd grade, a conflict and a resolution, right? So, I want you to talk with each other and see if you can figure out what a conflict and a resolution is. Think of a definition for it. Talk with each other, partner up. All of y'all, make a circle. There you go. Conflict and resolution.
Is it like a problem and a solution?
That's a good idea. What do y'all think?
I think it's a problem and a solution.
Y'all agree with that? All right, so go back to your spots. All right, so what do we think? We had to come up with a definition for conflict. What would you say a conflict is? Avery?
A problem.
A problem. So we could say a conflict is a problem. All right. What would we say a resolution is? Kinsley?
Resolution is the solution.
The solution to the what? To the conflict or the problem. Solution to the problem. Where am I going to put conflict? All right, so in 3rd grade, we learned that a story has a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? And then we learned that there's a problem in a story, and then there's usually some type of solution or resolution, all right? Come on in, Kinsley, you're good. Come on in, put your stuff down and then you kind of see. Not Kinsley, Savannah. Hey, Savannah, how's it going?
We're in school.
Yes. All right. So now that we're in 4th grade, we're going to learn that stories don't just have those two things. There's also some things in between. All right. So to start off with that, we're going to draw a little mountain. Okay. So here we go. This is a Simma's version of a mountain. What's up, Kinsley? Of the mountain. Okay. So y'all have an idea of the mountain. Y'all remember the mountain?
Is the mountain called a story plot?
Yes, we're going to call it plot elements in here. Everybody say that. Say plot elements.
Plot elements.
All right, so I'm going to draw the mountain. Here we go. So our mountain starts with a base. There. And we come up all the way to the tip of the mountain. And then it comes back down. And then we finish it out. All right? Okay, so our mountain has 5 things. Hold up 5 fingers. 5 fingers. We're going to start at the base of the mountain. We have number 1. Put number 1. That one's going to be our X position. Everybody say X position.
Exposition.
X position. I'm going to write it right here. X position. All right. And what our exposition is, that's where we learn who our characters are, where we're at in our story, and we get a bunch of background information. So, if I think about the movie Cars, have y'all ever seen the movie Cars? Y'all know that with Lightning McQueen and Mater and all that? Have y'all all seen it? Yes? Okay, so if I think about the movie Cars, who would be the characters in Cars? Avery?
I forgot.
You know his name?
Wait.
It's coming.
Lightning McQueen?
Lightning McQueen would be a character. Who else?
The little.
Mater would be a character. Anybody else? Y'all remember Sally? That was the girlfriend.
The yellow car?
Yeah, there's the yellow car. Yep.
I should know this.
All right. What was the setting? Do y'all remember?
Like a race.
The racetrack. Route 66 was the setting. And then some background information. We knew that like Lightning McQueen, he liked to win or lose. What did he like to do? Win. And he would do whatever it took to win. It didn't matter who his friends were, nothing. He would do whatever he wanted to win. So our exposition is our characters and our setting are introduced. characters and setting are introduced. So after our exposition, then we start climbing up our mountain. And we get to number 2 here. Remember I said there were 5 things? We're at number 2. This is called our rising action because we're rising up the mountain. Yeah? We're sparking some light bulbs. Y'all remember some of this? Alright, so we have our rising action. Rising action. Now in our rising action, this is where what we talked about in 3rd grade, our conflict or our problem, that's where this starts to be introduced. But it's not just one thing that happens, it's like a bunch of things. It's a series of events. So let's think about cars again. What was the problem in cars? Avery?
That black car was like trying to sabotage Lightning McQueen.
Okay, yeah, so you remember Cars 2. That's Cars 2.
Oh.
Let's think back to Cars 1. Do y'all remember? I'll help you out. He was in his travel trailer and he kind of like slipped out of his trailer. Y'all remember that? Do you remember, Kinsley?
Wait, so like Lightning McQueen slips out of his trailer and
Yeah, he was lost.
car crash?
He does get in a car crash. Yeah, so there's a bunch of things that happen that eventually lead us somewhere. So, our rising action is our problem, or we know it as what word? What's also our problem? Our conflict. Problem or conflict is revealed through a series of events. So just like in cars. Then we get all the way up to the top of our mountain. Way up here at our peak. Y'all already know what's coming, don't you? What do you think's coming?
Rising action.
The rising action we just did, right? You're going up to the mountain right here at our rising action. Yeah? The climax. We get all the way to our climax. That is number 3, right here, is our climax. At our climax, something happens in the story that makes this big shift. Everything turns. So sometimes a character will like totally change their ways at the climax. So if we think about Cars, remember we talked about how he was selfish. He would do anything he could to win. But then, once he was at his final race, he was almost at that finish line. And do y'all remember another car crashed? Kinsley, help me out. What happened?
He crashed into him and like he fell apart and he couldn't finish it.
Yes, so what did Lightning McQueen do? How did Lightning McQueen help? Did Lightning McQueen finish the race or did he go back and help that car? He went back and helped the car. That is not like Lightning McQueen at all. We know Lightning McQueen likes to win. But at that moment, Lightning McQueen changed his mind and he was like, no, I'm going to go help this guy and I'm not going to win the race. Right? So at a climax, that's when the problem reaches the highest point. This is the most exciting part of the story usually. The problem reaches the highest point. And we call this our turning point. Because that's when things turn around, right? That's when characters make a whole new decision. What's up, Kinsley? Yes, so we had our rising action, number 2, and then we start dropping down this mountain, and we do the opposite of the rising action. We start falling. So we go into our falling action. Falling action. Now here is where things start to wrap up. All the loose ends start to be tied up. This leads us to our resolution. So this is where our problem begins to be solved. Begins to be solved. So in Lightning McQueen, let's think about this again. Lightning McQueen just saved this guy, right? Now he's 3rd place. He's no longer the winner because he doesn't care about winning anymore. And he realizes his friends are more important. He gets sponsorship for Dynaco, but he decides, nope, I'm not going to take it. I'm going to go back to Route 66 and hang out with all my friends. right? So that's where the problem got solved in Cars. And then we make it to the very bottom of our mountain. Number 5, Kinsley, what is it?
The resolution.
The resolution. We ended out. Number 5 is our resolution. And we already know what this means from 3rd grade. What's our resolution? It's completely solved, right? It's the solution. So our problem is completely solved. Now, in Lightning McQueen, or Cars, at the very, very end, he was living in Route 66. He was happy. He had all his friends with him, and he ended up bringing all of his crew, and he brought Route 66 up. Do y'all remember Route 66 was kind of like a dump? Like nobody was there. It was kind of a boring land. Yeah, you remember that? And then when Lightning McQueen went there, it started getting more popular. Okay, so let's go over this one more time. There's 5 things, right? Where do we start? At the exposition. What happens after the exposition? We go into the rising action, then we hit that climax and we start going falling action, and we end with the resolution. All right, since y'all are dancers, we're gonna do a little dance. All right, go ahead, stand on up. What's up?
To remember your resolution, take away the R and the E solution.
Genius moment. If you take out the R and the E, solution. Right? That was a genius moment. Okay. Alright, so to help us remember this, since y'all are dancers, let's make a little dance. Alright? Have a good idea? Okay, so exposition, we know, is the characters and settings. That's where they're introduced. Let's go ahead and scoot back that way we have them first. Alright, so we're going to start our dance. Exposition, like first position, we're going to start in first position. Alright, so our first position. I want to see your best dancing. Alright, so we're going to start by introducing the characters and settings, right? Then we have the rising action. We're going to take our leg up, grab it, super big leg, and rise. Rising action. Then we're going to go into the climax, which is also known as the what? What do you think we're about to do?
A turn?
A turn. So because it's the turning point, so let's do a pirouette. Pirouette. And then we're going to do the falling action, down. And then the resolution, give a big thumbs up, because all of our problems are what? Solved. Let's do that one more time. Ready? We start at our exposition in first position. First position. We go. Introducing our characters. Rising action. Rise. And then we go into our climax, which is our turning point. Turn. Falling action. And then our resolution. All our problems are solved. One more time. Ready? Here we go. Start first position. For our exposition. 5, 6, 7, 8. We go. Introduce our characters. Rising action. We're learning those problems. Climax is our turning point. Falling actions. We're beginning to solve our resolution. Can y'all do that by yourselves?
Yeah.
Let's see it. How do we start?
First position.
Why do we start in first position? Because that's our
Resolution.
Exposition. Ready? Here we go. 5, 6, 7, 8. You go walk. Big leg. Pirouette for your turning point. Down to the floor. And give me a good thumbs up. All right. Is that a good way to remember it?
Yes.
All right. Have a seat. We're going to come back to this. Now, I want us to think about, let's think about the story Cinderella. So, partner up and go ahead and think about the story Cinderella real quick. Just go over it. Cinderella, think about what happens.
She's a little lady. And her dad got her mom died. And her dad, he's got sisters. And there was is it the dad or mom? Yeah. I think it's the mom. And the dad the dad finds another one. And she went
All right, go ahead and turn back towards me. Okay, so who do we know is the biggest part of Cinderella? Who do we know? Kinsley. Cinderella. Who else is in Cinderella? Who are the bad people? stepsisters. And we have that background knowledge that who did you say died?
Mom.
The mom died, so we know there's background knowledge. Does she like her stepmother and stepsisters?
No.
No, they're evil, they're rude, right? So, then what happens? What does the stepmother and stepsister do to Cinderella? That's a problem. Savannah.
They make her do more chores, that way she can't go to the ball.
Exactly, is that our problem?
Yes.
Yes. Now we get to the peak of the story. Now remember, we don't just have one event that's our problem. There's more things that happen, right? There's more things. So that was one way up our mountain that Savannah just told us. What was another thing that happened?
The stepsisters ripped her dress when she was going to the ball.
Yes, that godmother came. She made her all pretty, fancied her up. Then the stepsisters sat there and they ripped her dress and they were rude, right? She makes her way all the way to the ball. She sees that glorious, handsome prince. And then what happens? Kinsley.
The prince is like, will you do something with me? And then they go outside and then swim.
Yes, and then what happens? What's that big number that's a big part of Cinderella, Avery?
That she runs away and she loses her glass slipper.
She loses her glass slipper, right? Because she had to get home at what time? Do y'all remember?
I know. 12 o'clock.
12 o'clock.
That's when the magic wears off.
Yes, and then she would be back to her Cinderella self, right? And then what happens? So she gets there, she goes home, she loses her slipper. What happens, Kinsley?
And then she goes home and she's like crying in her room.
Yes, what else?
Her stepmom finds the glass slipper hidden in her room.
Yes, there's all these problems. What happens? The prince comes, what happens?
So they find the slipper that she lost, and then they take it and they go to each house to find who the slipper fits. And the stepsisters tried to say that it was theirs instead of Cinderella's.
Yep, and it ended up being whose?
Cinderella's.
Cinderella's, and guess what they did? They lived happily, what?
Ever
Ever after. So, we just followed this whole story map. Our exposition, Cinderella, stepsisters, fairy tale land, right? Rising action, she had the problem, her stepmom wouldn't let her go. Once she finally got to the ball, the sister ripped her dress. Then she loses her shoe. Then the prince has to go through all this trouble of trying to find his true love. And then at the end, he finds her, and they live happily ever after.
And then they go to the second.
All right. Yes, and then movie number 2 comes out. All right, so we got 5 minutes left, which is perfect timing. We're going to read a quick story, all right? And then y'all are going to work together.
Like all four.
All 4 of you are going to work together to put the parts of the story on a map. All right, here we go. This is called Jabari Jumps.
I'm jumping off the diving board today. Jabari told his dad. Really? Said his dad. The diving board was high, maybe a little scary. But Jabari had finished his swimming lessons and passed his swim test. And now he was ready to jump. I'm a great jumper, said Jabari. So I'm not scared at all. Jabari watched the other kids climb a long ladder. They walked all the way out to the end of the board, as big as tiny bugs.
I'm going to give you these cards. They're labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way to 18. Okay, they're in order of the story. Y'all are going to work together. Okay, remember they're in order of the story. You're going to work together to place them on our mountain of where you think they should go. So, I'm going to give you these cards. Work together. Go ahead and sort them out.
That's number 1.
That's number 1. They're in order.
2, 3, 4. 8, 9,
Guys, hurry up.
10, 11, 12, 13. That's 17. 13, 14.
Now, there are 2 14s because the words and the pictures go together.
15,
17, and 18, which is gonna go right here. No, right here, because remember it goes out.
Oh yeah, and then it goes out.
Yeah, that one goes out too, doesn't it?
All right, now you have to think about where those cards will go on our paper. All right, I'm gonna give you a marker, and you go ahead and fill out the names, write those vocabulary words. We have 5.
Okay. So first is exposition.
Exposition.
Let's all take turns writing it.
I'll write the climax.
I'll write the last one too.
I'll write this one.
I'll write following action.
I'll write this one.
And then I'll write climax, Savannah, me,
Isabella, you
and
can
then
write
Isabella.
resolution.
Right, resolution. Okay, so 10 would probably go at the
11.
climax.
11.
I think 2 would go here.
Yeah.
And 3.
Well,
and
might go
4
maybe
here.
4.
4
Oh,
would
I
go
think
there.
13 is
Yeah.
here.
But
What about
actually, no,
14?
because when 4,
What do
that's
y'all think
never.
14
Can y'all tell me what y'all did with your maps?
Yes.
Where did we start?
At the exposition, which is where we learned about the character Jafari and what he wanted to do.
Good. And then what happened after that?
He started making excuses like, I need to stretch, I need to figure out what flip I'm gonna do.
Yeah. And then what happened? What did we get to at our climax?
And at the climax, his dad told him it's okay to be scared, just do what you want. It's like a surprise.
Exactly. And then what happened?
He decides that he's actually gonna jump, and then Jafari is thinking that he's gonna jump.
Yep. And then we get to our resolution, which we know is our solution, and what happens?
And then finally he decides that he's actually gonna jump. And then he does.
Nice job.